All right. Let me move this bar out of the way. All right. So today we're moving forward to lesson or to module 5, which now we're going to start talking about the different markings that you'll find in the irises, mainly irises. But this is going to indicate when you're reading eyes what you're looking for. So on every example, we'll have some different pictures to see. You'll have a well-rounded view of this. And then to piece in the other 8 lenses, go back to the reading material, and the PDFs will also support that on what you're looking for when you're looking for through those lenses, because I'm not going to cover that in tonight's class. I covered that mainly in the onset, where I knew it was probably way too much information, but you've got a basis for as to why I'm teaching you 8 different lenses. Now you get to start using them once you get more seasoned in looking at different eyes. So start looking at everybody's eyes. Grab pictures of everybody that you can grab pictures of and start analyzing them. That's how you're going to know what you're looking at. All right, so the very first lesson was about the thesis of iris colors. The language of the iris color, the core statement: the iris is the constitutional blueprint, not the cosmetic expression like most people think. Oh, you got beautiful blue eyes. Oh, you got beautiful green eyes. The color reflects the inherited terrain. The markings reflect lived experience. The density reflects adaptation. The clarity reflects current vitality. So the clearer the eyes are, the more vital a person is. The more muddy they are, or the more obscure, or the more different colors that are in the eyes, those are toxic terrain. So that body is not functioning as well as it could be functioning when you see a lot of different colors in an eye. A lot of times it is, vaccines that have done it. It could be trauma that does it to a person. It could be toxic load that will change the eye color. That changes it quicker than anything is toxic load. So when you're looking at eyes that you know should be blue and they've got greens and yellows in them, now you're going to start thinking along the lines, what is going on in that terrain? Why is that fishbowl not a blue fishbowl? Why is that brown fishbowl? Why is it a whiskey colored fishbowl? And why is a biliary eye, where it's mixed, why does it have really off colors? Because you're going to get to know which one's a true biliary and which one is a toxic load. So the very opening discussion question is, are you seeing color? Are you seeing constitution? Or are you seeing deposits in the iris color because of what their life terrain story has been? So as we get going, Jensen's constitutional blueprint, the 3 primary constitutional types were lymphatic blue, which is that's what I have. They have lower mineral density, and I've got a double whammy when it comes to that because I had the stomach stapling. Lymphatic congestion, they have more tendency on that you'll see more lymphatic rosaries and blue eyes than you will in brown. Although in brown eyes, the lymphatic congestion shows up a little bit different, and that'll come in later. They have sensitive immune and nervous systems, and that is very true. Hematogenic or brown eyes, your common brown eye here, they have liver and blood chemistry issues, greater metabolic heat. They have fermentation and toxicity patterns. And then the mixed biliary. This is a mixed eye. So this is a mix between blue and brown. And they have combined lymph and liver stress. And this is liver that you're seeing, this brown. Browns, and the orange is the gallbladder. They're adaptive, but they're unstable. Their endocrine and their nervous system really has fatigue cycles. So when you're looking at this, just don't think about color. The color does not change the type, it changes expression. So you want to ask, is this inherited? or is this acquired? When you're looking at eyes, you really need to start looking beyond just the colors that you're seeing and the markings. Start asking that question. Start looking at the whole body. Let me move this out of the way. Oops, wrong thing. Let me go back to share. Let me know if you can see the screen on Canva. Can y'all see the screen? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. I guess I exited out of something. Oh, now I've done something in change theme. Let's see. Exit full screen. No. Let me stop share because I've totally lost my page.
You might have to find your presentation again.
Yeah,
and just represent it.
Full screen. Hang on. Okay. Share. No, it's not. There it is. All right. Do y'all see? Well, I can't see it now. This is weird. I went up and hit something by accident and everything's gone. Oh, there, no, that's my screen. There it is. Okay, now I can see the screen. Do you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not in the right screen though. Now I can't seem to get it to move forward.
You might have to just do, can you stop and then start again? And depends if you grab a screen, a window.
Yeah, I did something weird. That was strange. Now I don't see what I'm looking. I don't see my meeting view, exit window, help. Window, no. View, no. Meeting, exit full screen. Let me see if I can get it back up there again. Okay, do y'all see the screen?
Yes.
Am I scrolling through it?
Yep.
Okay, good. Woo! I don't know what I did there. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to, there we go. I just wanted to move that. All right. Now I can't see you guys. There we go. Now I can. All right. So you want to keep that question in the back of your mind when you're looking at the eyes. Is this inherited or is it acquired? All right, let's move on to the next one. So terrain stewardship lens. What we are talking about here, let me get this out of the way, is the color is like the soil. The markings is kind of like the weather. The symptoms are the harvest. So you'll observe dullness versus brightness. So, you know, all of these eyes are a little bit dull compared to what they could be.
It seems
Well,
like the top one is kind of bright.
well,
That's
it's
too dark.
bright. It's
Oh,
supposed to be blue. This is supposed to be a blue eye. So with it having
oh,
all these colors in there,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
it shows up bright, but this should
Right.
be a blue eye with no
Okay.
toxic stuff.
Yeah, that's helpful.
So cloudy versus clarity. So this one looks a little cloudy to me. This is another blue
Yeah.
eye. This is a mixed biliary, but you want to look at the pigments and the expansion of the pigments. So we see pigments in every one of these eyes.
Right.
And then you want to look at the fiber integrity. This fiber is it's got a lot of integrity. It's tight, it's like silk. So this person's probably, when they start on a detox pathway or really get to work on their health, they're going to respond very well. This one would be the second person to respond. And then this one would be the last one to respond. They'll have a little bit of harder time. So the naturopathic frame, is the elimination moving or is it stagnant? This one, the elimination is moving quite well. This one, not so much. and this one not so much. We see things stacking up with this one because it's got the arcus senilis starting to happen, or the sodium ring. We've got the skin ring on this one. We've got the gut in here that's just got lots of things going on, plus a bunch of inflammation, maybe some candida going on here. And then this one, the gut is just really far out there. You can just see it expanding in all directions. It should not be jetted out in all different directions here in the gut area. You want a really nice kind of, this one's not the best either, but it's a lot better than these other two. You want to see that gut really clearly marked, just kind of going in a complete circle around. So monastically, you want to ask, has this body been stewarded or overdriven? This is an overdriven body, this one too. So is the constitution overwhelmed and neglected? I would say these two are more overwhelmed and neglected. This one just needs a little help. So the bioenergetic and nervous system lens. So blue iris is cooling, parasympathetic leaning, receptive, sensitive. Your mixed iris, more of a regulatory instability, alternating stress response, and you can see the stress in this person's eyes, the stress rings. Brown iris, more heating, sympathetic dominant, metabolic drive. So think along those lines when you're looking at these eyes. If you don't have a, maybe a health coach background or a doctor of natural medicine or anything like that background, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to know, what does she mean by metabolic drive? What does she mean by sympathetic? These are all symptoms that happen when we're not taking the best care of our health. These are the things that will show up. So this is what's going to show up with these people when you're looking at their eyes, like looking at this brown person. This person's been holding a lot of stress, and their bowels are not moving. They're holding on to too much. They got some radial furos going on. They do have some low stomach acid going on. They've got some other things going on too. The anemia, of the whole entire, they're not getting their breath in well. They're probably a shallow breather. This person, got some lymphatic stuff going on, lots of inflammation in the body. That's what you see, this white raised. And then the skin ring, is very prominent all the way around from here, all the way down and around here. Not so much in the head area, but still their elimination pathways are not real open. Same with this person. This person's having some elimination issues, especially in the gut terrain. You just can see the deep furrows, things going on there. So this is what you're going to start really looking at, looking for, pigments, the opacity, the density, how much congestion is going on. There's a lot of congestion in both these two eyes here. Not so much in this one, but this person's got a lot of hepatic stuff going on, liver and both kidney, because the liver will put off like an orange. This should be a really chocolate brown eye. And there's some orange and yellow that's kind of running over the surface. So that's letting me know that both liver and kidneys, which are your, two filters of the body, are not eliminating quite well. Now, quantum and practitioner integration, so frozen light history, that's what the eyes are all about. The iris is recorded light. So I should put up a kind of a collage of a client that didn't take very good pictures of her eyes, but these were eyes that I was working with her for over a year. You can see where she started. They looked muddy, they looked green, they looked, looked like a pond that had lots of scum over it, So as we moved along with some of her detox and cleaning up her health, you can see things start to change. I mean, this is where she began. Then, you move up here, and then we go over here. You can see a little bit more green coming in. And then by December of that year, you see a little bit more going on. But look at January. Look at a significant change in January. You see more blue coming through. Now, this was all just detoxing this, and you can see the whites of her eyes. They look clearer, where these were a little bit more, a little bit more yellowish and struggling a little bit here. And, in about 3 to 6 months, when you get somebody on a good plan, a health plan of some sort, in about 3 months, they start to feel a little bit better. But by 6 months, holy cow, you see the big change in their eyes.
With
So,
this one here, is it a blue-green? Or
yes,
sorry, a brown-blue constitution?
no, this is actually a blue eye.
Oh, it's a,
It is a
wow.
blue eye underneath all of this. This is toxic overload that this person really had. She ate, I remember she was a youngster. She ate McDonald's every chance she got. She felt like crap. She was thin. She pooped maybe once every 7 to 12 days. I'm like, oh my God. And she just couldn't figure out why she felt so bad. She never drank water. All she drank was pop and, crap all the time. And she was a fifth child. And a lot of the other kids' eyes looked just as bad. But they were raised on fast food. They were raised on processed food. She didn't know what real food was, until I started working with her, and she didn't know how important water was, and when she started drinking more and more water, she started feeling a lot better. She goes, "Is something so simple can make somebody feel so much better?" I said, "Yes, your body needs water." So it's just crazy. I've probably got some more case studies that I'll share throughout time goes by, but this was one of the ones that I just absolutely loved work. She was very moldable, and very teachable. She was ready to feel better, and you could tell by you can even tell by the way she's got her eyes open here. Not as open here, more open here.
Because she looks like she had brown eyes. So did she know that she used to have blue eyes?
Yeah, she knew that too. Yeah, she
Okay,
did know
okay,
that
okay.
too. But yeah, the brown, this is just toxic. It's just
Wow.
it's toxic overload in the body, and the liver's just not processing. The gallbladder's throwing off all it can, and soon it starts to bleed over into the colors of your eyes.
Is that what you ask? Do they know what their color of their eye was when it was
yeah,
born?
yeah, most
Okay, because
people do.
I'd look at that and think that person's eye is brown.
Nope,
So,
it's
okay.
blue. It's blue. And it
Wow.
got
That's
bluer
amazing.
over time. I wished I had the other pictures. I think they're on my other computer because I worked with her for 2 years. And she was a firm believer. I actually worked with her brother, and her brother was a little bit more resistant, but once he started feeling better, he's like, "Oh, maybe there is something to this." So anyway, these are just things to start looking at,
So Tammy, I quick
yeah,
question. I guess for myself, I'm still kind of looking at the eye to determine the toxicity of it. Like Shannon was saying, do you ask them then what color eye that they had at birth to
yep.
know, but if they were born with brown, green eyes or hazel eyes, so they were actually then toxic as a baby.
Well, this is inherited. This is when you start thinking inherited. What did the parents pass down? Because
Okay.
just like I put in the group, a mother and two sisters' eyes. And if you look at the mother's eyes, they look almost exactly like the two sisters' eyes. Well, that's because mother passed down. So basically, when you've got somebody that's toxic, that's why Becky and I all the time talk about how mothers really need to be in their best health before they start having children, because whatever you got going on, you're passing on to that embryo, and that embryo is gonna and that baby's gonna struggle, probably if not worse. Like, for example, my daughter-in-law, bless her heart, she was diagnosed with juvenile uh
Diabetes.
no, an arthritis. Maybe it was
Oh,
rheumatoid arthritis.
Mm.
But see, her grandmother had arthritis and her mom has arthritis. But here's the thing, arthritis is something you can reverse. That's inflammation. So basically, these moms were just fully inflamed when they started having babies. Well, guess what? That passes right on down to the kids. And no wonder Mariah, she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And I said, oh, that's just a coin term. You don't have fibromyalgia. You got a lot of inflammation in the body. Well, guess what? Now her kids, all three of them, now the third one was a complete home birth. It's probably the healthiest one because she wasn't vaccinated, but Samuel, almost fully vaccinated, and he's dealing with some gentle autism going on there and some other behavioral things. Maddie, she was only baptized up to a certain point, but I kid you not, the moment they each got, I wished I'd have gotten pictures of their eyes, but both Maddie or Samuel had brown eyes, but Maddie had the most beautiful blue eyes when she was born. They're not blue anymore. And this little girl, when Maddie was real little, all she wanted to eat was salads and fruit all the time. I'm like, Mariah, give it to her. If that's what she wants to eat, let her eat it. That's the best thing she could eat. Well, now, we go and out to eat as a family or something. It's chicken nuggets and French fries. And I'm like, oh God. going down that toxicity lane, and I hate it. But now the kids are getting so picky because they're at that age, 6, 7, and 8, in that age range, and now they're picky about what they want to eat. And early on they were eating salads and fruit, because they knew what live foods were. It's amazing when you watch your grandkids, what they choose as little ones, and then it's over time that they start choosing the junk, because they get a taste of it, and it's all said and done then. But with these kids and with these, if a kid has already got a hit because of the parents, yeah, they're going to have a hard time. But does that mean that they'll go back blue? Probably not. They've inherited those eyes now. That's why I said, Jensen, his book is great and there are beautiful eyes in there, but those are not eyes from today. You look at people's eyes now, and we're seeing so many different colors, all of this now. And it's like, why? And it's even worse. I mean, as we get by with our slides, you're going to see how eyes just look so different. You don't have just a pretty blue eye and a pretty brown eye, or a mixed biliary eye anymore. It's got all this toxic overlay going on. And now you've got to really look at it. But yeah, that's one of the questions I ask. Hey, tell me what color eyes you had when you were born. What did they say on your birth certificate? Was it blue or was it brown? Or was it hazel? Because there is a gene out there that there is a hazel eye. However, it's a very rare, it's not, and the hazel eyes that you see nowadays are pretty much inherited. It's a toxic overlay that they've inherited from their parents. All right. So here is Constitution. So this is our blueprint of vitality. So when you're looking at someone's eyes, the first thing that you want to look at is what's the Constitution like? And when we talk about Constitution, these are the two ways that I can help you. Do their irises look like fine spun silk? Like this one down up here. That is a beautiful, tightly woven, beautiful Constitution. So they've got a very strong Constitution. A weak Constitution looks more like a spider web, or a bike wheel or something. You're going to see all these, spokes and different things. That is a very weak Constitution. When I say that, it doesn't mean that the person is strong or weak. It just means that their vitality of health is going to be a little bit more difficult with a weak Constitution than it would be with a strong Constitution. So you get a client in, and mostly, they'll come in and they'll say, I'm exhausted all the time. I don't understand. Don't know what's going on. You do an assessment on them. You kind of look, you kind of see, well, they've got a couple pigments here. They do have some their kidneys are struggling, maybe a little bit of pancreas stuff going on in here. And they do have maybe a little candida. It's not horrible, but a little bit. I'd have them do a little candida spit test, where you have a glass of water at the side of your bed, and first thing in the morning, you take first morning spit and you spit in the cup. And if it floats to the bottom, you got candida. If it webs, or if it floats to the bottom, you're fine. If it webs as it's going down, that's candida. And if it stays at the top, that's a lot of biofilm. So that's a real simple test that you can have your client do when they, when you look at their eyes. Wonder if you got some candida here. Let's see. And this one does. This one here, this is a weaker constitution. Doesn't mean that they can't jump back. It doesn't mean that they can't build their health, because they've got a pretty strong weave back here. It's just they've got a lot of petal overlay here, and it's a lot of tissue, inflammation going on. The gut is low stomach acid all the way around. This eye's got a lot going on, but it doesn't mean that they can't jump back. It's just going to take this person 6 months to a year, maybe a year and a half to start really feeling good. Where this person, about 3 months, they're going to start feeling wonderful. So that's the difference between a strong and a weak constitution. So again, you want to look at both. You don't want to be reading symptoms. You just want to be looking at the constitution and getting a good idea of where are they. And as we move on, I'll kind of point these out. So Jensen's structural principle was fiber structure determines constitution. The tighter the weave, the stronger the constitution. Just like I said, if it's like a fine silk, they got a strong constitution. And a lot of these strong constitutions, you find out their grandparents and their other grandparents and the grandparents before them, they were all farmers. They ate their own food. They did all the hard work on the farm. That's what you find with these people when you start talking to them. As we move on with life, people just don't work like they did way back when. Let's just face it. They just don't. A lot of people are sitting at desks. They're sitting on computers, myself included. We're not outside in the elements working and building our body and building our bones and all of that. That starts building weak constitutions, and it starts passing on down. So you want to look at the fiber density, the tissue tone, the uniform weave, the systematic coherence, the lacunas. These are lacunas that you're going to start seeing in the eyes. These are pockets of inherited weak zones. So wherever they land on the chart, if it's in the lungs, or if it's in the, down here in the anus area, or if it's up here in the brain area, those are things you're going to start looking at and you're going to start seeing. And then this one's got also some nerve rings. So you're going to start notating all of these markings that you're seeing. This one up here, same, they've got some nerve rings. This is a stronger constitution, or this is a weak constitution. But this one, they've got a lot going on here. They've got some liver, they got some kidney stuff going on. Same here. This should be a really dark, nice chocolate eye, kind of a dark brown eye. But this, in my opinion, when I talk about this and when I see this, I call these whiskey colored eyes, because their kidneys are struggling, the pancreas is struggling a little bit, the bowels are a mess. So this is a toxic overlay. It's kind of, the fishbowl is dirty, so to speak. So the inside terrain of the body is just dirty, and it needs some cleaning up. So pigment, you're going to start looking for pigment overlays. You probably won't see them as much in here, but I tend to see a little bit of orange or red going on up in here in the liver area. Same with this one. You're seeing some little pigment start to deposit. Those are things you're going to start notating. And in those PDFs, I gave you some things to, when you're looking at eyes, I gave you a 10-minute eye assessment or 10-second eye assessment that you could do on yourself. Make some notes. See what you see. So is the constitution inherited? Stewardship determines longevity. Ask, is this person structurally strong but depleted? This person, there's some strength in there, and maybe they've just neglected themselves over the years. Doesn't mean that they can't come back and you won't see really strong weaves going on. In fact, when they start to improve their health, and it is things that they have done to themselves, in these lacunas, you start seeing these fibers come up through. It's almost like it's like a spider's been in there and kind of reweaving, resewing, or like someone's taken a sock and they're sewing back up the hole, you start to see those fibers come back in closer, and that's how you know the healing is happening. If it gets deeper, you know that that's more degeneration happening. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you know if it's inherited?
By the questions you ask the people. When you start
Okay.
doing an assessment, you're going to find out, if this person has been, they've been they've always done exercise, they've eaten well, they've been, maybe a macrobiotic or a vegan, and maybe they do mostly vegan, but they eat some fish, they drink nothing but water. Now you know that this is an inherited eye.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
how
see.
you know.
I see. Okay. Thank
Because
you.
now you're going to go, okay, wait a minute. This doesn't make sense. Because this to me looks like a very toxic overload. What's going on here? However, it's pretty wide around here, but I remember
Mhm.
this person, and this person was toxic. So, this one I can tell you for sure, this was not inherited. This was induced. And there might be a couple others that I have in here that I might remember, and I'll show you the difference. All right, some more strong and weak constitutions. Strong versus weak, structural view. So a strong constitution is dense basket weave fibers, even coloration, clear colorette, minimal lesions. Where a weak constitution, you see loose. This is a lot of loose fibers on all of this. Even here, you can see the loose all in here, very loose fibers. Visible lacunas. We see visible lacunas in all of these, all three of these. Pigment accumulation. There's pigments here. There is some pigment in here, and there's lots of pigment here. Muddy or uneven tone. When you look at this is very uneven. So is this one. And this one is too, when you really get to paying attention and looking at it. So this is a beautiful, strong constitution. Even the colon and the bowel area looks really nice and strong. There is a few issues, and there is a couple little pigments here. And their skin is not eliminating as good as it could. They've got a skin ring here. It goes all the way around from the top. We can't really see the bottom here. That's why I tell everybody, get all of the iris. This one also has some skin elimination issues. Lots of liver and gallbladder. You see the red in here. That's liver. Gallbladder is more orange. Pancreas can also be orange. And here we've got liver, gallbladder, pancreas. We also have inflammation, some candida. But very tightly woven, but they do have some nerve rings here, and some, pigment deposits right here in the colon area. So you kind of get the idea. Strong does not mean symptom free. These people, some of the prettiest, strongest constitutions that I've done over time, some of those people feel the worst. And then you get somebody in like this, and they're like, I'm just the most joyful, happiest person in the world. And they must have inherited a really weak constitution, but they just have a joy-filled life, and they don't have any complaints, nothing. You get to talking to them, you find out they eat really well, they drink lots of water, but the eye is just inherited. They just got passed down a kind of crappy thing. But here's what I will tell you: if they didn't eat so well and they didn't take care of themselves, then you would see a lot of these lacunas getting really dark and black, and things would be going the other direction for those people. So that's kind of where you make your determinations when you get to chatting with people, and finding out what is their lifestyle like? What are they around? How is their, how do they talk to you? Are they negative, or are they positive? Or are they just joyous? Or are they a Debbie Downer? Or are they one of those anxious, nervous types? You're gonna see a lot of it in the eye. And you'll be able to determine what you're actually looking at by the conversations you're having with these people. So, and weak does not mean that they're doomed. It's also the same thing. Just because they have a weak constitution does not mean that they're doomed. They could have a weak constitution, and like I said, doing all of the things and all of the right things. That's amazing, because if they weren't doing all the right things, they would be going way downhill, and it would be fast. So,
But does it mean, so is strong constitution mean they can possibly kind of recover? I don't think that's the right word, but move towards health a little faster
yes,
than somebody who
yes,
has a weak constitution. Okay.
absolutely, you got it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
exactly what it is. It's like I've got a friend in Oklahoma. Her parents were Czechoslovakian descent, farmers, both husband and wife, strong as oxes on the farm. And it was in their late 80s. And this is a great example. In their late 80s that the sister came in and started taking care of the parents, and the sister was a nurse. Well, my friend's very holistic, and her parents never took a prescription in their life. But the moment the sister stepped in, strong, I mean, really strong. If I wished I'd have gotten some pictures of their eyes, because I'm always looking at people's eyes, without telling them, but very strong and just very bullheaded. The dad just bullheaded, very determined on everything that he was going to do. And they're both still alive. In fact, they just celebrated the dad's, I think he just turned 98 just last month, and mom just turned 97 the month before, or something like that. But the moment the sister stepped in, and now the pharmaceuticals are going crazy, her dad, it was about 5 years ago. It was when COVID, it was actually when COVID happened. He had a respiratory infection, and guess what? They put him in the hospital. They pumped him full of everything, did the COVID shots on him, and he did not come out the same. In fact, they nearly lost him, and now there's a big lawsuit going. The family's got a big lawsuit going against the medical system. But ever since then, as soon as the sister stepped in, it's like they are just going the opposite direction. And they've always been strong, healthy, never been sick, hardly at all. And now it's just like they're struggling. They're both just struggling with their health. The mom, they just made her legally blind just last year, I think. But they gave her the COVID shot too. But it just totally took them a whole different direction. If they'd have left them alone, I think they would have probably lived to be 105 and in still good health. But my friend lived in the Yukon area, and she was raised in Enid, which is about an hour's drive. So she didn't have much. The older sister was just taking control. So that's just one story I could tell you. But I mean, these people, if you got a nice strong constitution and you're eating they can get away with eating crap a lot quicker than the person with the weak constitution. That's another thing I can tell you. A strong constitution, somebody that's got that strong build, that great body, and been handed kind of a golden ticket with health. They're gonna do okay, even if they eat crap, drink alcohol, probably smoke cigarettes. You'd look at their eyes, and it probably wouldn't change much. But the moment this person started living a bad life, man, they would go downhill really quick. That's what I can tell you. So just keep that in mind. All right, so these are dense fibers versus loose fibers. You can see the difference here. This is a blue eye. Both of these are beautiful blue eyes. Again, this one's got the lymphatic rosary starting, also the nerve rings going on. This one's got a lymphatic rosary as well, and we're going to cover that tonight. This one's got a great bowel system, although they've got some pancreas. They're not metabolizing their sugars like they should, because this is more pancreas than it is anything. And then this person's just got lots of inflammation. That white raised is usually tissue damage in the body somewhere. So when we're looking at these, you want to just make sure to look. Is it dense fibers? This is telling us coherent signaling. Loose fibers, fragmented communication. So when we're looking at the bioenergetic field, stress weakens tone before symptoms. So the emotional patterning, a strong constitution, these people just push through. They have delays in emotional processing. These people that have these really strong, these old farm boys, you ain't gonna see no emotions come out of them. This person though, probably very emotional, very sensitive person. They can overwhelm quicker. So you want to look at both of those: strong awareness and prevention, weak rebuilding and pacing. So ask, is this nervous system compensating or collapsing? This nervous system is not compensating very well. This one is, but this one is not. So, constitution is frequency architecture. Our constitution determines how much frequency the body can safely hold. So strong equals stable, signal, scaffolding, weak, sensitive, permeable, filled. Neither is superior. They're just different assignments. So as your role as a practitioner, you want to stabilize their field. You want to respect their pacing. You want to restore coherence as much as you can. Constitution is not a destiny. It's just a design. All right, lesson 3 is the sacred boundary. This is the autonomic nerve wreath, or also known as the collarette. This is what we see all around here. So the autonomic nervous wreath is the boundary between assimilation and expression. So it separates the digestive zone from the organ zones. It reflects the autonomic nervous system tone, and it shows how safely life moves from the inner world to the outer response. This person's really far out there. So they're probably your very, just out there enjoying life, just, not a lot of boundaries, where this one out here, they're really tight, very constricted. They're holding everything in. Even the nerve rings are showing me that. They're just an anxiety mess, so to speak. So you want to ask, does this system feel safe enough to express, or is it guarded? This one's guarded. This one will express to you. Jensen said the autonomic nervous wreath, or as nervous system, was the nervous system regulator. So the tighter the weave, the stronger the constitution again. So smooth and centered equals regulated. This one is a little bit more smooth than centered. It's more all the way around, where this one, you can see the little outlines going on here. It's not real smooth and centered. It's kind of off, it's kind of off structure here. So this is indicative of chronic stress imprint. If it's tied, pulled inward, it's showing sympathetic dominance like this one. If it's expanded like this one, it's more parasympathetic or fatigue. So distortion reflects long-term stress, not just recent events. So ask, is this person wired or tired? It's good things to get to know about your people. So what the shape reveals. I got a bunch of different shapes of the autonomic nervous wreath in here. Smooth, even, stable digestion, balanced stress response. This one's pretty smooth and even. Jagged, anxiety, stored trauma. So we see this one's jagged. It balloons way out here, and it balloons way up here in the transverse colon. So there's something from, or probably from the ascending colon to the transverse colon, and then this is the descending colon. So there is something going on here. They may have either a colon, something going on in their colon here. They could have polyps. They could have possible, maybe a kink going on, maybe where they're not eliminating quite well. This one is a loose, faded kind of boundary loss, exhaustion. You see it, but it's just kind of loose, and you don't know where the boundary really is. I can see it because I'm trained, but it's pretty loose here. You can't really make it out. Then down here, you have the tight hypervigilance control pattern. So this is probably a type A personality. They're very constricted with their movements, their thoughts, things like that. Let me off. And then we have shifted off center. You can see this one. It's shifted. It's off center. There's lots of things going on here. So this is structural stress, spinal or cranial involvement. So the autonomic nerve wreath tells the stress story before the labs ever will. So if you get somebody that walks into your, practice or whatever, and you've got an eye like this, I guarantee you their labs are going to reflect what's going on. Same with this person. Kind of same with this one as well. These three have a lot going on here. These other two are not so bad. So the nervous system map in the iris is it leads to the cranial and spinal nerves in iridology. So those are going to be found from your 11 to 1 o'clock area, and I've kind of got it notated in this iris. It reflects the body's wiring system, where the signals flow and where they strain. In this eye, it's pretty strenuous. You've got to recognize this area. So this person's probably got a lot of cranial nerve issues. They probably do real well with cranial sacral work, chiropractic. Things are just not processing very well. They've got a vertical axis. Their spinal nerve transmission is really tight. They've got some radii, solaris in here. Things going on. Contraction furrows, long-term tension rings. This one's got the tension rings all around the edge here. And the autonomic nervous wreath distortion near the nerve zones, regulation strain. So this is all just very indicative. This person just, as much as they try, they just can't seem to calm themselves. They're not grounded. They're constantly in fight or flight. They're just really struggling. So where is the communication strain? This is a person that you would sit down and just find out, what is their work life like? What is their home life like? What was their life like when they were growing up? This person has got a lot of stored stuff. Cranial nerve recognition, upper iris, 11 to 1. So you're reading the cranial nerve stress, what to look for. Fiber tone in the upper iris. Fibers are real strong in this one and in this one. This one, it gets a little weaker. Tight, compact, tension, over control. This is a very controlling person. Loose, frayed, nerve fatigue. There's a couple that are frayed, not too bad. Split fibers, interrupted signaling. So this is talking about the cranial nerves. And we've got, I think, if I remember right, 13 cranial nerves. So all of them have a job. They have a job with your tongue, with your vagus nerve, with your eyes, with your, trigeminal nerves. All of these nerves are affected, and it also correlates with vagus nerves. So if they're tight and really having issues here, it's going to reflect all the way down. So again, we see pigments here in this one around 12 o'clock. Orange rust, metabolic stress, gray dark, stagnation. This is a blue eye. Lots of toxic overlay in this blue eye. Lacunae near 12 o'clock, right here. We've got some issues going on. Optic, auditory, brainstem regulation. So this person probably has a lot of issues there. So these clinical correlations would connect to headaches, TMJ, tinnitus, dizziness, emotional dysregulation. So if you get any of these people in your practice and you're seeing this, these are probably things they're dealing with. You're going to see markings that are very indicative of everything that's going on. You'll be able to look in the jaw area and see that there's a line in the TMJ. Tinnitus, they may even say, gosh, I just can't seem to get away from tinnitus. Well, that's a lot of cranial nerve damage. Spinal nerve recognition, vertical axis, reading spinal transmission, what to identify. So you got your cervical spine, 12 to 1. This could be mental tension, neck strain, and you'll see that this person has these type of things going on. Thoracic, from 2 to 3 o'clock to 9 and 10 o'clock. So your lungs are going to be in this area, depending on what eye this is. It could be on this side or it could be on this side. The ribs, the breast area, all of that depends on what eye we're looking at. So it's affecting their breathing, grief patterns. These are things that you're going to see. This person, I imagine, has got a lot of grief hanging on. Lumbar section. This is the lumbar down here from 4 to 5 and 7 to 8. So you're going to see these pigments in here. This is adrenal stress, low back strain. Sacral, 6 o'clock, survival. This person, we've seen a couple of eyes already that had this ballooning out. This is that same one that I pulled on over. This is survival and elimination issues. They're not eliminating very well. The radii, solaris, these are dark spokes that go outward. This is chronic stress patterns. And anytime they come from the bow and they go outward and they go all the way up to the brain area, this person's got total brain fog all the time, and just really struggling with life. These are these contraction rings, long-term rigidity, nervous tension. So when you see, and this aligns with the gut area, see how tightly woven all that is? And it's just, this person is just sitting in life like this, waiting for the next shoe to drop. Now we're going to talk about pupil. The pupils speak first. Pupil size and shape is the nervous system in real time. You ever seen those people and their pupils are just bright, big, and just, those are fight or flight people. People that's real tiny, and even if you're in a bright room, those people are just constricted. They're just closed in.
Well,
So,
if they're really large, doesn't that mean they're on drugs or something?
it can be, but not always. It could be that they're just stressed out, Shannon.
Okay.
Doesn't always mean drugs. Now, when you there again, you're going to have to talk to these people,
See how they're talking.
and get to know these people. I mean, if you know it's somebody that you're dealing with and you know that they do drugs, then yeah, it could be safe to assume that. But if you don't know that for sure, that's not the first thing you want to jump to, because they could seriously have some nervous system dysregulation and they just cannot seem to calm down. And it could also be, sometimes your autistics, your Asperger's, they'll have one of two extremes. They'll have the large pupils, and some of them will have the tightly stricken pupils. You're just not going to get in, just depends on the type of spectrum, or, if they're functional on the spectrum or if they're just non-functional. The ones that are non-functional, their pupils are going to be real tiny. But the ones that are functioning, pupils are going to be pretty big. And maybe Shelly, if she, is ever at a point where she can chat with us, she might be able to share that with us. So what you've got to assess immediately, size of the pupil. Is it large, small, balanced? Is the shape round, oval, or indented? These are very important things that you need to look at. Is it positioned centered or off center? Is the symmetry right versus left? The symmetry is a little off on this one. Responsiveness to light. Does it respond to light really well? Is it normal? So again, is this system reacting or regulating? Those are questions you're going to ask. Pupil size, reading the nervous system. The pupil shows capacity for safety. So Shannon would think this person was on drugs, but there's something else going on under this one. So get that out of your mind. That is not always the story behind large pupils. Balanced, normal, smooth, round, symmetrical, responds to light, adaptive, regulatient. Anyway, I can't say that word. Anyway, so this is a normal refracting pupil. Fine. Dilated, large, sympathetic dominance, hypervigilance, adrenal overdrive. So again, we can really, you think that large pupils because they're on drugs. Okay, well, adrenal is a drug. And your adrenaline is just pumping constantly with these people, and they got these large pupils. If you want to think drugs, think adrenaline, because that's probably what's going on with this person. Often tension rings present. So you want to ask, is this person living in fight or flight? That's typically what big pupils mean. Constricted. Here's a really constricted, tiny pupil, even though there was light shining right in this eye. Exhaustion, freeze response, parasympathetic collapse, mineral depletion. So you want to ask, is the system conserving energy? So these are your pupil ideas. Now here we go into some pupil shapes and positions, structural and neurological clues. What to recognize. If they have oval, elongated spinal misalignment, could be cervical or sacral stress. It can also mean, could be TBIs. They could have, seizure activity. This is where you're going to have to talk with people and find out, hey, were you born with that, or is this something that's been developed?
What is TBI?
Traumatic brain injury.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So if they've been in any type of a car accident, sometimes the pupil will start looking like a football. And that's serious. Is it off-centered? Is it, if it is off-centered, this is cranial tension, TMJ, whiplash history. So look at all these pupils here. They're all off-centered, every one of them. Are they flat or indented on one edge? These are flat and indented. Now, this one particularly, I'm thinking this is a surgery botch of some sort. This was an eye I grabbed off of one of the iridology pages. So this one, I think there's a story to this one, but there's a nerve supply strain in the corresponding reflex zone if they have really irregular looking pupils. Now, what about uneven?
So you think the irregular pupils were surgeries?
Not always. That's a question. I think this one is.
Oh, okay.
Not
Okay.
always. But there's definitely some health issues that have gone on with these two for sure. This one, I think there's a story of surgery. So these are things you've got to ask. You got to talk to people. So the uneven between the eyes, asymmetrical nerve load. This is a nerve issue here. So both these eyes, you can see this one's large, that one's small. This one's large, that one's small. So these are examples for you to notate. Lesson 6, we're going to get into the structural language of the iris. Lesions, lacuna, crypts. So the structural openings in the iris reveal tissue integrity and vitality. So both of them got lacunas. So what you're wanting to look for is fiber density around the opening. So there's some opening here, but there's no real fibers going on. This one is like a closed one. You can see it just kind of closed up here. This one is, it's closed. So depending on where it is on the map, I'm not going to go into that because it's just going to confuse you right now. But where it is located on the map is going to be indicative of why there is a lacuna there. Has there been trauma there? Have they had a surgery? Has something been removed out of their body? Have they had an injury of some sort? That's all going to tell you why there's a lacuna in that area, unless it's inherited. Now, if this is an inherited eye, it could be from mom, dad, grandma, from the past. So now we're talking more about miasms, and that's something that you're going to learn too as we go along. Well, is this a miasm? Can this eye heal? Can this body heal? And everybody can heal. And each of them, no matter if it's inherited, it's going to look a lot different once you start getting health in place. It'll change, and it'll change for the better, and it may not change totally, but you're going to see some changes. So the iris shows where the tissue has struggled under load. So consider, is this an inherited weakness or an acquired stress pattern? So when you're talking with your clients, you're going to find out what their lifestyles have been like, what their workload, what their life history has been, because that is going to indicate how the eyes have adjusted through time. Lacuna versus a crypt. So I've got some things pointed out here, and just keep this somewhere close. So a lacuna is generally considered a lesion or a structural weakness ranging from open-ended to closed, representing inherited tendencies or metabolic slowdowns. A crypt, on the other hand, they're deeper, they're often diamond-shaped, and they look like kind of pinholes markings that represent more significant localized degeneration or necrosis of the tissue. So when you start seeing crypts with these little diamond things forming, think degeneration is going on in this area. So what is causing the degeneration? You need to find out what the root cause is as to why these crypts are here. And then if you start to do a program to turn that around, this is where you start seeing that these little fibers get bright white and they start filling in. And before long, you start seeing the little fibers around this diamond shape start to just kind of mold away. And before long, you don't see any crypts there. Same with lacunas, can be done the same way unless they're inherited. Now, if they're inherited, you can still get some good fiber going on in that area, or healing. I call them healing crises or healing signs. When you start seeing this get raised white, any of these, when it just raises white. So you kind of have to decide, is it inflammation or is it raised white because they're in a healing phase? And that's something that you'll have to ask your clients, because I made the mistake once reading some gal's eyes some time back. I don't know, it was probably about 15 years ago, and I immediately thought, oh, she's got tons of inflammation in her eyes, and that's what I thought I was looking at. Well, lo and behold, I found out that she was in a car accident about 15 months prior, and she had totally lost function of walking. She had broken almost all of her bones in her lower half of her body, and that's where a lot of the white was showing up. And I thought, holy cow, what is going on here? She's got tons of, maybe she's got some sort of arthritis stuff going on. And I started to assume without asking her, and I just thought, no, I'll take it upon myself to take a look at these eyes. Well, she wrote me an email back and she goes, I wish you'd have asked me my health history, because at that time I thought, I don't need nobody's health history. I just want to jump in here and just do what I know, by what I've learned. And I didn't have enough information. And I found out, that she'd been in this car accident and she literally had been working to walk again. Well, those were all healing lines that I saw. It wasn't inflammation, it was healing lines. And her eyes were showing every bit of that. And I'm like, oh, I felt like a fool after that. But those are some of the things you'll learn along the way. It's not right or wrong. It's just, these are things that I want to prevent you guys from doing, because I'm giving you all the tools in this foundations course. That way you'll know, well, you can always send me pictures and go, hey, can you double check this? Am I seeing this right? And I'll tell you, I'll say, no, you're not looking at it right, but close. And then I'll tell you what you're looking at. But you kind of got to give me a little bit of case history. But anyway, though, that's just one example. Don't just jump to conclusions. You need to talk to people. You need to get their health history, because, and you need to get a health history based on something that it won't cloud your judgment. Don't, just because they say they have fibromyalgia, don't look at their eyes like they have fibromyalgia, because that is just a coined term that some doctor has given that person because they feel like crap and they got pain and they don't know what to do about it. Well, you start giving them minerals and you start telling them to drink water and getting outside in the sunshine and, start watching what they're eating. And lo and behold, that fibromyalgia term goes away. It's no longer there. So these look like oval or rounded openings, just like you can see in here. I've got them pointed out. They have soft edges, fibers pushed apart, often lighter gray tone. We're talking about lacunas right now. And what they suggest is reduced vitality. So when they've got a lacuna starting, you've got either one of two choices. You can either support it and get better, or not support it and watch it start to degenerate and start getting like a black hole. And it really shows constitutional weakness, sluggish organ tone. So really consider, lacunas show low vitality rather than inflammation. Now, crypts, on the other hand, same eye. These are collapsed tissue markers. So basically a crypt is kind of like the body sending out a sign. Okay, we're going to encapsulate this. We're going to send it all the energy and all the nutrition that we can. But this body's really struggling and it's not giving us much. And we keep knocking on the door saying we need, vitamin A, we need vitamin C, we need vitamin D, but it's not giving us any. So it's going to kind of create this form around here and it's going to protect it. The body is amazing. So they're going to look like deep, narrow openings, sharp edges, darker tone, diamond or teardrop shaped. And what they suggest is severe tissue weakness. So the tissue is starting to die in that area or degenerate. Long-term degeneration, nerve or circulation compromise. So let's say you got somebody that's got a back issue, which this is the back area, and maybe they got some nerve impingement. That's what's happening here. The body is just trying to protect itself, and now you're going to start getting some tissue degeneration in there. So you want to look at these crypts, see how deep they are, how structurally they compromised. But it's not that they can't be turned around, because they can. Lesion recognition, identifying lesions. Those are still your lacunas, your, different lesions. This would be a lesion. This would be a lesion here. This is more of a crypt going on here, but this is a lesion here. And this is a large lesion in the bowel area. So irregular jagged openings. This is an irregular jagged opening. And even in here, we've got some lesions going on in the colon area. These are fibers that appear torn or unstable. They're often asymmetrical. They may span several fiber layers. What they suggest is acquired tissue damage, chronic inflammation. So see how it's white? This is inflammation in this particular eye. A lot of white going on here. So their tissues are breaking down, and they really need some help. So what I want you to remember is lacunas are weakness, crypts is degeneration, lesions actually are damage. So if you start seeing lesions in people's eyes, then there's some chronic tissue damage that's going on that might, it could be in a knee. This very well might be, depending on what eye this is, this could be indicative of a knee issue, even
So
though
what's
it's in
I,
the
I I don't understand lesion between a lacuna, and I understand lacuna and crypt, but is it the whiteness around it? Is that the
That's
lesion?
part of it. That's part of it. And it also depends on where it is in the body. Like this one, I'm kind of gathering this might be a knee, might
Oh,
be a
okay.
left knee. So depending on where these are located like this one's in the lung or the breast area,
Oh, okay.
something you kind of indicated, because of something that you've gone through. Many surgeries in a certain area, it can create a lesion or a
Okay.
pocket where tissue is got damaged, and there's
So
just
it's the white part. So it's kind of a lacuna with the white part around it.
kind of in a way, but it's depending on where it's located on the map too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Or
you.
or does it matter, or is it, Tammy, that it's rounded but it has a small opening? Would
Yes,
that be a lesion?
absolutely.
Because it has like a small opening, so it's like it's almost enclosed for a lacuna, but not necessarily.
Right. This is a lesion here. This is a lesion here. Do you see the difference? Where this one is a lacuna, it's completely closed. So it's being
Right.
protected.
Okay. Okay.
That
Okay.
helps.
Yes. Thank you.
Great explanation, Monica. And this is a lesion here, starting in the bowel area. But these are lacunas and crypts up here. These are more
Okay.
crypts here. This is more of a lacuna. This
So if
one,
you had to put them
That
in
one,
priority, would it
that
be
one didn't
starting
look
off?
cold though.
say again. Sorry, one at a time. Which one? Monica, what'd you say?
It was just, if you had to do it in order of priority, then would that be a lesion and then a lacuna and then a crypt would be like the not good thing?
Well, it would really depend on the case history, who you were dealing with,
Mhm.
because it may be that you have to deal with the lacuna first, depending on where it is in the body. It really is depending on where you see the lacunas or the crypts on that map. Maybe
Okay.
they're having, let's say, they were exposed to chemicals in a workplace and their lungs are showing a lacuna and they just recently quit their job. That's where I would focus, is in the lung area, and get those lungs healthy again. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yep.
Or if, let's say, like you've got somebody that's got a degenerative knee and the tissue is just totally broke down and you're seeing some crypts in there. But they're waiting on a knee replacement. I would let that go for now until they got their knee replaced, and then see if you could support that area again. Does that make sense? Whereas a crypt, depending on the area that it is, this might be mouth, teeth, or it could be also the neck area. So this may be that they've got some neck or cervical issues or degenerative teeth going on. Well, if it's teeth, I think I would address those first and foremost. You just kind of have to do it in a matter of what you know best on we know everything starts in the gut and it goes outward. So you go in the order of system, which system needs the support first. Does that help?
Now, on this eye, there's 2 white spots on outside the pupil. Isn't that's the light? Those
That's
2.
light reflection. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is light reflection too, and so is this.
Okay, so let me ask you this. See where it says crypts up at the upper, 11 o'clock.
Mhm.
To me, those are lesions because those aren't completely, I see white on 3/4 of it, but it's not completely closed.
Yeah, but they're diamond shaped and they're deep. So these
Okay.
are deep and diamond. So it's less tissue that's viable. Does that make sense?
But the one, okay, so your thing right is on a crypt, but to the left of it, it doesn't seem completely closed to me, and it doesn't look like a diamond to me. You're pointing at the crypt, then go to your left. No, go up one, right there, right there, right there.
Yeah, this
That
is
is not,
open. This is lesion.
yeah. So that's a lesion. Okay, I thought that was a lesion. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. You
You
got it.
got to have them numbered.
Yeah. Well,
No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. I'm totally teasing.
probably a good idea. Maybe I'll go back in there and
No, I'm teasing, but that's what I was talking about.
yeah.
It was okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We good on this slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to start talking about the gut ring, the hub of health. The gut ring in iridology, this is the inner iris ring, that reflects the foundation of health, the digestion and assimilation. What you must identify, zone 1 is the stomach. So we know that the stomach is right in the center. That's zone 1. And then as we move out, we've got all the way to zone 7, which is on the outer rim. But we see this one is affecting zone 1 and 2. The stomach is, or the gut is. This one is actually affecting all the way out to probably 6. So it's affecting all the way out to zone 6, meaning when you're looking at that, you want to see which zones the gut is starting to affect, because the gut is our kind of our sewage system outside of the lymphatic system. But what's going in has got to come out. And if it's not coming out, it's getting stored and it's getting pushed into different organ systems. That's what's happening in this bottom eye. This is a very toxic eye.
So, quick question, with the distinguish then between the gut ring to the ANW, because the jaggedness that you would go around in the depth, like you said, the top one there, if it was closer, that's an okay for the ANW.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bottom, then that would mean that it was like, pretty intense stress or, stress type of a thing, right?
Yes.
So, well, how do you clarify between then? Are they the one of the same? It's just the coloring?
No, if you're going back to the autonomic nervous wreath, this one is very, very symmetrical. There's not a lot of offshoots going on. So this is a very calm, grounded person. They're not in fight or flight. This one, however, because there's so many offshoots going on, that autonomic nervous wreath is just haywire. So they're also haywire. in essence. They're in fight or flight all the time. Does that make sense?
Yes, I was
So
just trying to figure
they're
out with the gut ring, the coloring, or you were saying for the gut ring.
they're two totally different things, but you're looking at both of them.
Okay.
It's just now we're focusing on the gut, not the autonomic, but more the gut. But also the autonomic also relates to the gut in a way, because are they able to cope with life? This person is able to cope with life a little bit better than this one is. So it's going to affect their gut also. It's going to affect whether they're holding it all in or if they're, able to move freely, eliminate freely, you know. This
So
person,
the number one would eliminate better than number two.
yes, most definitely. Most definitely. Does that make sense? I mean, they're the same, but they're not. They're related. I guess maybe that's what I should say. They're related. You can't have the autonomic nerve wreath without the gut ring. You just can't. They're very related. And they one pushes the other, so to speak. So if your gut's a mess, your autonomic nerve wreath is probably going to be a little bit of a mess too. It just kind of goes hand in hand. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to look at the relationship between the two rings. You want to see how pretty is this? This one's pretty, even though there's lots of toxicity in the gut. And this one is just a little bit more jagged, a little bit more, going all over the place. So is the autonomic nerve wreath behavior affecting digestion? Probably so. I bet they don't digest very well at all. This one, on the other hand, they're probably digesting pretty well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is nice and smooth and centered, and it's not got all these little offshoots going on. So, does the gut zone look clear and organized, or irritated and strained? To me, this looks irritated and strained, doesn't it to you?
Mm-hmm.
And this one looks calm. I mean, it's together. It's not spread all over the place. So everywhere these pockets end up is affecting a tissue or an organ as well. And we'll get into that as we get into mapping the eyes. All right, so the stomach ring, and we have talked a little bit on this. So this stomach ring, it's a lot of white right up in here, a little bit of gray. This isn't the best picture, but we want to look at the location directly surrounding the pupil. So this is the stomach ring. There was one back here that was really, this is a stomach ring right here. See the white? This is low stomach acid, but you can see that stomach ring just beautiful. This is the inner lining of the stomach, and then that's the outer lining of the stomach. So you want to look at the stomach rings. This one's white, showing low stomach acid. If it were gray, dark gray, they probably have low mineral absorption, things like that. So let's get back over there. This person has the gray on one side. I would kind of like to know, they got a missing, is part of their stomach missing? It could very well be. Because it's not portrayed here very well. So is it pale or cloudy fibers, which is calling for irritation and hyperactivity? Is it dark, thin fibers, weakened stomach function? So they've got some darkness down in here where it's more white up here. Tight fiber patterns, stress-driven digestion. And then what you want to look at, zone 1 reveals how digestion begins. So zone 1, how is the digestion starting? They've got a little bit of a redness, it looks like, around here on this pupil too, which is letting me know that they might have a tendency towards stomach ulcers, not digesting their food very well at all. This person is not. And they might need more enzymes. That's another indicator, is if you see this dark and then you see light, you see mixed, you know, and you clearly don't see just white all the way around. That stomach acid, but enzyme issues. This person probably lacking in some enzymes. So you want to see, is there acid imbalance, stress digestion, gastric irritation? This has got some acid imbalance, the white. This clearly has got some gastric irritation because it's coming off into the bowel area too. So is the stomach zone tense, irritated, or depleted? I would say all of the above. This person is all of the above. Stomach intestine recognition, zone 2, small intestine reflex ring. So the location is the ring surrounding the stomach zone. Remember, it's this ring way out here. This is small intestine. And their small intestine, what you're looking for is malabsorption permeability patterns. So if the zones are kind of separated, which we see here, if you see some radii solaris going on, which we do right down in here, maybe even one starting here. These are toxins spreading outward, or think of leaky gut. That is a good picture. Pigment deposits. We don't really see any pigments in this one. If you saw red or you know, the orangey color, then we'd say, okay, so there's some liver and gallbladder things going on here. Liver, gut stress, or sugar imbalance. Could be pancreas. The pancreas is not working if there was some yellow in here. Cloudy or thick tissue, intestinal irritation. This person's intestines are really irritated. So we want to look at the zone 2 reflex, absorption, microbiome balance, and immune activation. This person totally needs some microbiome balance. When the zones 1 and 2 are disturbed together, gut-brain axis stress. They probably got a lot of foggy brain. They have a hard time getting tasks done. They have a hard time staying focused on anything because they've got a lot of that going on up here. Closing teaching line, a disrupted gut ring often precedes imbalance in immunity, hormones, and nervous system. So we already see some of the nervous system dysregulation going on with this person. They're having some troubles here. So lesson 8 is recognizing lymphatic patterns. The lymphatic rosary is the most indicative thing in the eyes to find when there's lymphatic system sluggishness or congestion. So what you're going to absorb is like a lymphatic rosary, or what I would call like a string of pearls around the eyes, around the outer edge of the eye, or a halo. It's peripheral clouding in the outer iris, so you can see the little nodules. And a lot of times, like this one, if this looks like a woman because there's some mascara, but lymph nodes in the breast and the torso area, or underneath the arms especially, are just clogged in this particular person's eyes. So the lymph is not draining well at all. Fiber endings in the outer zones. We do see these fibers just kind of ending in the outer zones. So that's letting us know that there's definitely some issues going on there. Circulation issues, some elimination burden. Remember, with the lymphatic system, you are the pump. If you're not moving and if you're not, you know, pounding on yourself in the morning, that's one of the things that I do. I do lymphatic and vagus nerve stuff in the morning. Get that body going. I was on a plane once with we were coming back from Australia, and there was a little Asian lady, and about every, I don't know, it seemed like about every 30 minutes, she had this, it looked like a tennis ball on the end of one of those, almost like those little dog thrower things, but she had that tennis ball taped to this like whip thing, and it was on the end of it. She'd take that thing and she'd just start pounding her body. And I just watched her. She'd get up and she'd just bounce in place. She was getting her lymph going because that was a 21-hour plane ride. Can you imagine what your lymph is like when you get off the plane? I can tell you what mine was like because I put them damn those stockings on because I thought I'm gonna put compression stockings on so I won't be swollen. That was the worst thing. That was my very first over the pond plane ride, and I will never do that again because what happened is I was all, you know, tiny around the ankles all the way up past the knees, but then everything was like, it was horrible. And I couldn't feel my legs for about a week. It's like I
Wow.
cut the circulation off. So not a good thing to do. So the lymphatic system has no pump. It depends on movement and vitality. I told you that. So does the outer iris look clear, flowing, congested, or puffy? This one is puffy and congested. All right, here's another one. You can see the lymphatic rosary formed right here. Now we see some pigment. This is pancreas. And then we see a stomach ring in here that is white. So what you should see is small, white, or cloudy puffs, which we see. A bead-like appearance, necklace or halo pattern located in the outer iris. Most common in the blue lymphatic constitution and the mixed biliaries. And what it suggests is sluggish lymph flow, elimination burden, congestion in the peripheral drainage. So it's one of the most recognizable signs. Very easy to point out. You'll notice them all the time. That was one of the first things that I learned how to look besides the gut. So you want to see these as smooth outer fibers or bead-like puffs. My husband's got a lymphatic rosary. And honestly, the people that have a lot of lymphatic rosaries, they're the ones that also have the cottage cheese on their legs or on their butts, or, you know, they hold a lot of lymph. All right. Outer iris congestion signs. What to look for: peripheral clouding, congestion in the lymph circulation. So again, we've got a little bit of congestion in lymph going on here. Weak or frayed fiber endings, especially right here. We've got some weak and frayed. These are a little bit frayed here. Radii, solaris beginning in the outer zone. This one doesn't really have any. So that would be toxins draining outward.
But it does have, you know, right around the pupil, that brown, it's like a star.
Yeah, that's in the gut. That's
okay,
not
okay.
radii solaris.
Okay.
Yeah, not the same. So zones to observe: zone 3. So this is be zone 3 right in here. And zone 6, which is your skin area and lymphatic peripheral elimination. You want to look for lymphatic signs that appear in the outer iris where the body moves waste outward. So we moved a lot of waste around our torso, underneath our arms, in the groin area. So this would be in the groin area.
What about those freckles? The freckles.
Freckles, we're going to touch a little bit later, but
Okay,
that's
what I see.
Yeah, that's an issue. So this person's not eliminating well at all. Lesson 9, recognizing the radii solaris. So here we are. We've got the radii.
Okay, see this. Yeah.
These are the toxicity furrows. So these are deep radial furrows, and a lot of iridologists will immediately say parasite infestation. Not always true, but it is a high probable cause. So always keep that in mind. And what you want to look for is these dark streaks or spokes and where they're ending. Where they end is just as important as where they're beginning. But these are some deep ones that start here and they go up into the brain area. And then some of these down here in the lower region of the torso area are also there. This one as well. Lots of them in the brain area, in the lower torso, and some in the chest area. So you want to look at those. How are they how deep and well defined are they? And as they start to detoxify, you start to see these lighten up. I've seen them just lighten up and start to go away, and some of them can clear right up, some of them not so much. These are not normal iris fibers. They they interpret the natural fiber structure. I messed up my slide there. So do you see dark spokes radiating outward from the pupil? If you do, there is some digestion issues going on. It would be probably a good thing to, you know, ask them if they have done a parasite cleanse. Don't automatically just go there. But most of the time when you see these streaks, they do have some parasite infestation. And doing, like, this person really needs, both of them both need liver, gallbladder liver cleanses for sure, because that's the largest filter in the body, and it's throwing off all this red orange. This one is more gallbladder and pancreas. They're not assimilating their carbohydrates very well. So just
So
pay attention.
how can, what's the difference between liver, gallbladder, and what the top one? What's the difference between the two?
What do you mean? What's the difference?
You said the bottom one was more liver and gallbladder, and you said
No,
the
this one's liver and
okay.
gallbladder, where this one's gallbladder. So gallbladder is more orange, liver is red.
Okay, thank you.
And then pancreas is yellow, and so are kidneys. Kidneys will also throw off yellow. All right, so this is very unusual for a blue eye. I'm going to tell you that right up front. Blue eyes are not usually the ones that have the radii solaris in it. It's usually your mixed biliaries or your brown eyes. But to see them in a blue eye, that's pretty rare. This is foundational level. These are deep terrain toxicity, nervous system strain, long-term elimination burden, and sluggish detox pathways, and systemic stress patterns. That's what you can really think about when you see these lines radiating out from the gut and going outwards. These suggest that the body may have been carrying stress or burden for an extended period of time. Unless it's inherited, remember, you got to keep in mind, is this inherited, or is this something that has showed up in your eyes over the years? You want to ask those questions. These markings are just observations, not diagnosis. And you want to really look how deep, how dark, how numerous, how many do they have? Like this one doesn't have as many as this one does. This one's got quite a few. And this eye is actually in a healing phase. They're actually starting to lighten up and get better. I remember who this person is. And this was probably about, I want to say about 7 months after we started her on a gut program, and already looking so much better. Here are some more. So they pass through multiple zones. You want to take note of that. How many zones are these lines going through? You know, these are going through quite a few. These, not so much. So you want to look at each zone. Zone 1 and 2, remember, is digestive. So there's quite a few in the digestive zone. Zone 3 is blood and lymph. So we've got some in the blood. When I say brown eyes, you're not going to see the lymphatic rosary, but you will see this zone got these lines and these lacunas starting. That's lymphatic struggles. So is it organ-specific stress signals in the zone 4? So once we get out here, now we're talking about different organs that are being affected. Zone 5 and 6 is structural. So your musculoskeletal system is out this way. And now we're getting into the lymphatic and the skin area. So we want to look at the location of where these are extending out. What's it affecting? This one is going out to probably zone 3, so it's into the blood and the lymph, but that's as far as this one's going. Same here. This is just blood and lymph. But there's a lot of gallbladder disturbance going on, probably coming from the gut. And just really bad elimination because they've got lymphatic going on. They have the skin that's not eliminating. This person's just not feeling very good. Lesson 10, recognizing these little freckles or psoric itch spots. Psoric itch spots or eye freckles are small, dense, pinpoint markings that reflect irritation at the skin, nerve, elimination interface. Now, what I also will tell you about these little freckles is if nobody had freckles and then they went under anesthesia and then they, came back and maybe a month or 2 later, now they got a freckle, depending on where the surgery was, sometimes a freckle will deposit. Also, depending on the type of medication, some pain medications, some recreational drugs will also deposit freckles in the eyes. I had a really good, one of my best friends, she had beautiful blue eyes when she was young, like me, but her eyes, if I can ever find them, I'll show them to you guys. I I was like, wow. Well, she used to use cocaine pretty heavily. She ended up doing crack at one point in
Mm.
her life. She was a mess. Well, she had a lot of these freckles that were deposited on her eyes, and they looked a lot like this. So a lot of times your heavy drugs and heavy metals sometimes will deposit as freckles. So it's
Mm.
not just what this is saying, but over time you're going to start seeing that. I'm just telling you foundationally. So depending on the color, dark brown or black, and this is going to be in your PDF. Dense, well-defined spots, often clustered in one area, deeper than simple pigment. So you can see that this one is kind of in one area. Same for this person. This one's kind of scattered throughout, and this one's kind of scattered throughout. Just have a conversation with these people. Ask them, were you born with these eyes looking this way, or did these freckles show up over time? Tell me a little bit about your past. Did you ever do any type of medications? Have you had extensive surgeries? Have you used drugs recreational? Don't make them embarrassed. Just ask them. Say it's just part of it, and no judgment here, but is that something that you've done in the past? They'll be honest with you, if they feel safe. And if that is the case, you'll start to notice that these things you'll see within their irises. So these aren't just pigment freckles and not just toxin deposits. You want to see, if you see small dense pinpoints rather than larger pigment spots, you need to consider that. It's like these are little bitty teeny spots. Now the gal that I've told y'all the story with, and I need to find, I think I saw it the other day when I was going through some of my pictures, but when she came in, she had a blue eye and she had a spot, but it was a little bit different than this. It looked almost black. It was misshapen, kind of like this, but not as much. It didn't have this big curve, big V up at the top. Something about it, and it was the only spot in one of her eyes. And once I started reading it, I thought, man, there's just something going on here. And I ended up sending her to an ophthalmologist and found out she had actually melanoma on the iris itself. So caught it early. She was able to get it treatment, but it was she said, and the spot just showed up like overnight one time. She'd never had it. And that was a clue to me. Okay, something's going on here. And she hadn't had any surgeries. She hadn't had any trauma lately. Things just didn't add up. So I just told her, I said, I really feel like you need to go and see an ophthalmologist. And she did, and I'm glad she did. So you're going to see stuff like that come across. And you're going to have to use discernment. What these spots suggest. At the foundational level, these markings are often associated with skin irritation patterns, nervous system sensitivity, elimination stress, digestive skin axis imbalance, immune reactivity. So think of probably your people that have MCAS, and let me say what that is. That is mast cell activation syndrome is MCAS. People with histamine issues, they probably are more apt to have these freckles in their eyes. And
But it doesn't seem like their digestive system is that messed up. Well, maybe the upper left, but the two upper ones, but the bottom ones, the third one, but the bottom right doesn't have bad brown around its stomach,
no,
around
but
the people.
this should be a beautiful blue eye too.
Oh, okay, it's green brown. Okay, okay.
And the inside of their stomach, you can kind of see it's kind of, if you really blew up that a little bit, see how kind of
Oh, it's not nice round
jagged.
smooth.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, I see.
That's some stomach issue going on there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So these psoric itch spots suggest the body may be reacting to irritation rather than efficiently clearing it. So basically the body's hanging on to it, but it'd like to get rid of it. It just doesn't have the power to get rid of it. So observe these things, don't diagnose. And are the spots isolated, clustered, or scattered? See, this one's kind of scattered. This one over here is more clustered. This one's scattered, and this one's scattered too, but you got a few that are kind of clustered together. You want to ask those questions, why? You know, what's going on in this terrain? So again, location awareness, where are they and how, you know, how they're appearing. So which zone are they in? Again, this one's got it in all zones. This one mainly has it in the lower part of the body, so the lower region of the body. Could be that this person, you know, has had some hormone things going on, or it could be that this was passed on to them. I don't remember this eye, honestly. I just don't. It's probably one of my early ones. This one particularly, you know, where is these spots accumulated in? Where on the map? When we put a map over that, because you have some maps that you can, you know, map, eye maps that you can lay over a picture of an eye that will kind of help you see, well, where is this actually showing up in the body? Is it, you know, kidneys? Is it their gallbladder or their liver? You know, is it a medication derived thing? And some medications will deposit these freckles. I've seen people be on, what is that? It's a medication for like use so many, I can't even think about it. If I remember it, I'll put it in our chat. But it's a medication that a lot of people would use like for acne and things like that in the past. And I've seen that deposit in the eyes. And then there's different medications that are just really toxic and they'll deposit freckles in the eyes. So you just want to really look at where it's deposited, check the map, see which organs or zones or tissues, where is it being affected? And then start asking questions of the client. So these are showing where the body may be stressing irritation at the surface rather than holding it internally. Those are things that you're going to really consider there. All right, scurf rim is the skin ring. The scurf rim is a darkened or grayish. This one is a really dark scurf rim. This one too. This one's not so bad. It's more gray. And then this one. This is not a very good picture, but this is a lot of inflammation and acid in the body. This is a blue eye, but the white is the acid, the inflammation. That's why it's white. This one is a beautiful blue eye too, but it's got some pigment that has come in here a little bit. Some digestion issues going on. Same with this one. Got some digestive things, and their autonomic nerve wreath is a mess, so they're in fight or flight all the time. And they've got some elimination issues going on with the skin. So what you're looking for is a dark band around the outer iris. Gray, brown, slate coloration appears in the skin zone of the iris, may form a full or partial ring. And a lot of times your women that wear these very tight clothing, you'll see it around their torso area, waistbands. Men that wear really tight waistbands, you'll see it in their torso area. It's really uncanny. And you may not see it down here or up here. So it's mainly they're wearing too tight of clothing and clothing that's not breathing. But these people, it's all the way around. So they just have, their skin is just, don't eliminate very well, and they probably have tendencies with rashes and psoriasis. This is probably a very psoriatic eye, somebody that deals with psoriasis. It can appear thick or thin. It reflects the surface elimination patterns, not disease. They're just not eliminating. Do you see a darkened band around the outer edge of the iris? Then that would be a skin ring, scurf rim. And this is reduced skin elimination again, long-term surface load, congestion in the skin-lymph interface. So if the skin is not eliminating, guess what? The lymph isn't either. And you can see that in both of these eyes. They both have lymphatic rosaries going on. This one, not so much, but I guarantee you they still have some lymphatic issues. It's just not showing up as a rosary. Environmental or metabolic burden, slower detox expression through the skin. The scurf rim suggests the skin may not be expressing elimination as efficiently as it could. So these are terrain observations, again, not diagnosis. So is the ring thin, faint, or thick and dark? So if it's thick and dark, they are having the most difficult time. If it's kind of thin, a little bit of skin brushing, some lymphatic, pounding on the outer to get the lymph going, maybe even some sauna work. If they sweat, if they don't sweat, you don't throw them in a sauna because now you're just going to back things up.
Mm.
Observational features, what iridologists observe. You should notice thickness, thin haze or thick band, color, light gray versus dark brown, continuity, full ring versus partial segments, edge clarity, soft shadow or versus sharp boundary. So these are characteristics that help understand how consistently the body expresses through the skin. These people are not expressing very well. The scurf rim reflects how the body manages the outer boundary and surface elimination. So again, we're thinking about boundaries. These people have got really big boundaries or big walls up. Lesson 12, nerve rings or neurogenic rings. They're the circular furrows. So these little, kind of looks like if you were to cut a tree down, it's like the age rings. That's how I would tell people when I was emailing them. Look at the rings in your irises. They kind of looks like a tree ring, the age of a tree. So these, where a ring starts and where it ends, or how many there are in an area, that all has an indication of somebody's health. This one goes in all the zones, except for the digestive zone. It's not in the digestive, but it's in all. It's in the blood, the tissue, the lymph, the skin. This one, same here. This one, however, we can see them in almost all the zones. But again, you need to indicate, really when you take your notes, where do they start? Where do they end? Because you can see one starting here and ending here. See one starting up here, kind of ending here. So you want to make note of where those rings are located. You'll have a sheet that, you'll take an assessment and you'll make notations. You might even have where you have an eye and you make little drawings. That's the way I did when I first started. I had 2 eye charts, black and white, and I would just make markings, and it would help me to know where I needed to start first. And I usually always started in the gut. So you want to notice, are they circular or semicircular? Are they concentric arcs across the iris? Are they fibers appearing compressed or folded? Do they look like ripples in water? Like this one here kind of looks like there's some ripples in water. Down here looks like ripples in water. Same here. What is it telling you? Those ripples are stress patterns, that are just, they're hanging on. They're light impressions or deep grooves. These are the things that you want to look at on all of it. Are they smooth? Do they go all the way around? I had a little girl that was, Mom sent me her eye pictures, and they were beautiful brown eyes. But she was only 12 years old, but she had nerve rings in every zone, and they went outward. And when I asked her mom, I said, is your daughter dealing with a lot of anxiety and just can't seem to calm down, and everything makes her nervous? She's almost paranoid to go outside or be around people. She goes, oh my God, how'd you know? I went, well, she's got lots of little nerve rings. It's letting me know that this little child is holding everything in. Well, I also found out that she was in a household. She was adopted, and she was in a household that there was a lot of fighting going on between the parents and with the other siblings. She just didn't have a very good life at all, but until she came into this family's home. And the family wanted to get to the roots of, why this little girl was so on edge all the time. Well, I started working with her. I read her eyes and kind of did everything that I could with her. And I said, okay, let's start her on certain things. And I started her on some herbs that would help support her adrenal health to help calm her down. Gave her some exercise, gave her some deep breathing, told her to go outside, start grounding. And within about 6 months, some of those nerve rings started to just dissipate. And then the mom called me back. And today, she was 12. This is about 15 years ago that I did this. Today, she is a competitor. She is a health competitor, and she lifts weight. She's beautiful. She is very outspoken. She's not scared anymore. Life is great. I'm just so proud of her. And she goes, "You really inspired me. I wanted to do something in the health ring, and this is what I wanted to do." She just uh, she's beautiful. She's just so gorgeous. I mean, she's a bodybuilder. She teaches others to do the same. So she really went big in life, and she really came out of her shell. And you don't even see any of the nerve rings in her eyes anymore. So it really reflects. I don't know what happened there. Guess I kind of duplicated an arrow and it stuck there. I'll remove that before I upload it. These markings reflect nervous system adaptation to repeated stress, not disease. So when you see these nerve rings, these people are repeatedly and they may even tell you, "Oh, I'm not stressed out." Oh yeah, you are. Your eyes are telling me you're totally stressed out. So they just hold everything within. So long-term nervous tension, heightened stress reactivity, sympathetic nervous system dominance, difficulty relaxing or disengaging, highly sensitive or driven constitutions. So what it's teaching us is these nerve rings suggest the nervous system has experienced repeated cycles of tension and contraction. Tension and contraction. These are observation. Again, not diagnosis. So how many rings are visible? Those are the things you want to look at when you're taking your assessment. How many rings? This one's got a ton. This one up here's got a ton. These, I mean, there's some, but these aren't holding in as much stress as these two people are. Observational features. My O's gone. What iridologists observe. You should notice the number of rings versus few versus many, the depth. So how deep are they? How white are they? So these aren't, I mean, they're there, but they're not real deep. These are pretty deep, and these are pretty deep, and so are these. Pretty deep rings here, but these two, not so bad. Full circles versus broken arcs, spacing tightly packed or widely spaced. These features are going to help indicate how consistently the nervous system has carried stress over time. So these nerve rings show where the nervous system has repeatedly contracted to maintain stability. 13, the sodium ring. That's kind of what I posted about in our group. So it's arcus senilis. The sodium ring appears as a light gray, white, or bluish ring on the outer edge. You can see it in every one of these. This one's more of a blue. This is more of a yellow-white. This one's got one starting, but it's mainly here. And this one's got one starting. It's not all the way around, but these are all the way around. You can see those all the way. So what you're looking for is pale gray, white halo near the outer iris, ring just inside the sclera, maybe thin or thick, often smooth and circular, can appear as a full ring or a partial. Like I said, it's partial, it's just starting. So this is going to help you to see a light-colored ring forming along the outer iris boundary. Do you see this? If you do, make note of it. This is really indicative of mineral imbalance and misdistribution, reduced cellular exchange, meaning that cells are not firing right, it's not releasing things properly, slower electrolyte movement, circulatory or lymphatic congestion, most definitely with all of these, long-term terrain stress. And you can see that in every one of these irises. They've had long-term stress. The sodium ring suggests minerals may be collecting at the body's outer edge boundary. These are terrain observations, again, not diagnosis. So consider, is the ring thin, faint, thick, or opaque? This one is one of the thickest ones I've ever seen. So is that one. You want to notice thin halo versus thick band, color, gray, white, bluish, continuity, partial arc versus full ring, edge clarity, soft transition versus sharp boundary. So these characteristics help us to understand how the minerals are moving and being distributed in the terrain. Theirs are not. It reflects how the body manages mineral exchange and cellular boundary. All right. So next week, we're going to cover module 6. We're going into the eliminative system. So everything about the gut. We're going to go into deep detail about that. So be prepared, have it all read. And then if there's anything with questions with this week that you forget to ask me now, put it in our chat. I'll answer them. But any questions for tonight?
I had two different ones. One, I didn't understand iris musculature and the nervous system balance.
Where are you getting that at?
It was in one of the lessons. I don't know.
Tell me where it's at, and I'll go in there and look at it.
Okay, I'll look at it. And
Yeah.
then under that said iris muscular and nervous system balance. Then you had the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic. Then you had between safety and alertness,
Right.
reception and defense. So that was all under that same area.
So basically, we're talking about the nervous system here. So it's either in fight or
Okay.
flight, it's safe, or it's in panic mode. And it's really gonna indicate, are they tense, muscular, their muscular system is all bound up. Are they tense? They fight and flight, they can't relax, they can't slow down, they're not grounded, they're not calm, they're not that cool as a cucumber person, you know what I'm saying? That's
I think,
kinda,
yeah, I'll email you because I think I need to see a picture so I can
okay.
see the difference. And then also, I didn't understand the difference between solar and lunar.
Solar is the sun, lunar is the moon.
I know that, but I didn't know on the eye. I don't know
Send me
where.
send me the example of where you were
Okay,
reading.
I gotta find it in the section where it was. Okay.
Send me
No,
little
I knew. I,
screenshots of things when you come across them and you're going, I don't understand this. And I'll be
okay,
happy to
okay.
direct
I
you.
was writing down and I need to take a picture where I see it.
Okay,
Okay. All
perfect.
right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Tammy,
Yes, ma'am.
with you had said something about my kids,
Mhm.
and so which one did you say would have the smaller one, the higher functioning one,
Uh,
the
no,
smaller
they
pupil?
would, well, it would really kind of depend on also their personality. The ones that have the small pupils are more reserved. The ones with the larger pupil, even though they're in fight or flight, they're more expressive.
Okay.
Is
I
that
mean, my son Brad, who's higher functioning, I don't know if he's in fight or flight. He's more like just constantly trying to please everybody.
hmm,
And his are a little bit smaller. I wouldn't say
okay?
they're like tiny, but they are smaller
Okay,
than my son Garrett, who's nonverbal.
interesting. It's just a theory.
Okay.
Just
No,
a
I'm
theory.
just I'm trying to read them and trying to figure it out. So I
I would like to see him, honestly, just to be able to clarify. But on a general note, usually the ones with the larger pupils are more verbal people, even though their body's like this, and the ones with the smaller pupils are more constricted. They're more closed in. They don't speak as much.
so they are the ones I sent you. Those are the ones I was kind of just looking at as you were talking.
Okay.
And and I have them like I labeled them. Their names of their files are
Oh, you did.
labeled.
Okay. I didn't see
And,
that.
and Yeah, and Brad's is the higher functioning, and Garrett is the nonverbal. So I mean, I'm not saying they're small, but I thought they looked a little smaller than Garrett's.
See, now I don't have either of the boys' eyes in my chat. Oh, hang on, hang on.
I sent like 7 of them the other
I
day.
do see 7 pictures, but I don't know who they belong to because they're not labeled.
Oh, the actual name didn't come through because I relabeled them.
Uh-uh.
They named them. Oh, okay.
Maybe that's
Okay.
why. So, yeah, if you
Okay, what I'll do, I can email them to you, and then
perfect,
the name will be on there.
perfect, perfect. Again,
Yeah.
it's a theory. Not necessarily that it would be with everybody. I also have a theory about the ones that, have the MTHFR gene. They tend to have more of these glowing type green, almost like they've got antifreeze in their eyes.
Oh,
I've noticed
yeah.
a lot of them with MTHFR have that trait. Doesn't
So
mean that they
yes,
all do, but
so neither one of the kids have had any vaccines since they were about a year old.
nice.
So it's been, they're both well, one's 24, one's 20 and 35. So it's been a long time since they've had any vaccines.
Oh, nice, nice. That's
So
good.
yeah, no, I've one exposure and reaction is enough.
I know, right?
And they each had one, so I was done with them.
Yeah. My oldest too had a reaction, so my youngest never got one. So,
I wish I would have been a little bit, a little bit more diligent. But when Brad was diagnosed, they were very much onto the MMR,
yeah.
and that was it. And so I was like, Garrett's not getting the MMR, blah blah blah. But now, just knowing what I know, it was like it actually started with the Hep B at birth. So
Yeah, and that to me just blows me away. Why are they doing that? That's a
yeah.
sexually transmitted thing. Why are they doing Hep B at birth?
Well, and what they tell you, and because both my kids were C-section, and when you're just coming out of surgery, you're not even thinking
Right.
clearly because your brain's so full of all the garbage. They just said, if anything happens while, they're here and they have to have a blood transfusion, this is why you'll want to do it because you wouldn't want them to catch anything and blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, you're going to go, well,
Of course.
anything could happen. Anything could happen while you're at the hospital.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I said yes, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just, yeah, it should have
Yeah,
never happened. They should not be doing that either.
I know. I know. We live and learn, and it was meant to happen with whatever for whatever reason, we have to go through some of this stuff, but now we know better, we do better.
Yeah, and Garrett was also born with jaundice too. So
Yeah.
he started out rough from get-go. And yeah, so he
My
had a lot of
oldest did too.
yeah, lot of strikes against him from day one.
Uh-huh.
But
Yep.
but we're doing better.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
I
So
love it. You're a great mom. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, I'll let you read up on 6. I'll get this stuff loaded. And I have not forgot about doing the charts as PDFs. I will work on that this week too. I've got a lot going on this week. Last week I had Dave and Becky down here. We had Australians here, and we're trying to get ourselves Florida residents. So it's been a lot. So I will get on that though, and I'll get that into the modules. All right. You guys have an incredible rest of your evening, and I'll see you next week.
all right, thank you, you
All
too.
right, thank
You're
you.
welcome. Bye-bye.